Lucas Brandt had never expected a reward like this. He had saved a trade convoy from pirates on the edge of a neutral zone. He fought hard, kept his team alive, and helped the aliens recover stolen goods. So when the alien rulers invited him for a formal ceremony, he thought it would be simple, a medal, maybe a title, just something official. Instead, they gave him a cage, and inside the cage sat a girl. She was small, maybe 5 feet tall. Her skin was a soft silver blue, glowing faintly in the light. She had long white hair that flowed like silk, and her eyes were wide and glowing. She wore very little, just a thin wrap of fabric and a metal collar with a number. X-12. She didn't speak, didn't move, didn't even look up. The alien general smiled and said, "This is one of our finest pleasure breeds. She is yours now, Commander Brandt, a gift for your service." Lucas's jaw tightened. He looked at the girl again. No, not a girl. They had called her a breed, like a pet, like property. The alien leader patted his shoulder, mistaking Lucas's silence for gratitude. She has been trained well, does not speak unless ordered, and never disobeys. Lucas nodded slowly, forcing a fake smile. "Thank you," he said coldly. "I will." Take care of her. Back at his private quarters on the orbital station, Lucas opened the cage. The girl stepped out without a word, her head down. She moved with grace, but showed no expression. No fear, no joy. Lucas sighed and tried to speak. Gently, "You don't have to do anything," he said. "You're not my pet." Still, the girl didn't react. She stood silently, waiting. Lucas walked over and knelt in front of her. He pointed to himself. "Lucas," he said, slowly. "That's my name." Then he pointed to her. "What's yours?" No answer. He noticed the collar again. The cold metal burned with the number X-12. "Is that all they gave you? A number?" He reached out slowly, and when she flinched, he stopped. "It's okay." "I won't hurt you," he whispered. He thought for a moment, then smiled gently. "I'll call you Mira," he said. "Do you like that?" Mira. Her eyes blinked once. Something flickered in her face, but it was there, a spark. Lucas stood up and offered her a blanket. She took it slowly, holding it like she wasn't sure what to do. That night, Lucas tried to sleep, but his mind was full of questions. Who was she, really? How many more were like her, caged, given as gifts, treated like animals? Was this normal for these aliens? And why didn't the humans in the Alliance ever speak out against it? Myra lay curled in the corner, still awake. She hadn't asked for a bed or even touched the food he offered, just stayed quiet, watching him in the morning. Lucas found Myra cleaning the floor with her hands. She didn't look at him, just kept wiping the floor with a cloth. "You don't have to do that," he said. She paused, her hand shaking slightly. Then she continued, slower now. Lucas gently took the cloth from her and knelt beside her. "You're not my servant," he said. "You're free here." Her eyes finally met his, big, glassy, unsure. He smiled again. "You're not just a thing, Mira, you're someone." That same hour, someone knocked at Lucas's door. He opened it and found no one there, but there was a small device on the ground. He picked it up and scanned it. A tracker linked to Myra's collar. Frequency, his chest tightened. Someone was watching her. Someone knew where she was. And maybe they wanted her back. Lucas looked at Mira, who sat quietly near the window. She didn't know, but her body trembled slightly. As if she felt danger coming, Lucas stepped forward and gently closed the window blinds. Then locked the door. Something dark was following them. And Lucas knew this was not just a reward. This was the beginning of something much bigger and much more dangerous. Lucas woke early. His thoughts still clouded from the night before. He looked over and saw Mira sitting by the wall, knees pulled to her chest. She hadn't slept. She just stared ahead, as if waiting for someone to tell her what to do. He made breakfast and placed a plate in front of her. "Myra," he said softly, "eat." She looked at the food, then at him, unsure, carefully. She picked up a small piece with her fingers and brought it to her mouth. It was like watching a frightened animal take its first steps into the open. Lucas smiled. "Good," he said, nodding. She blinked slowly, then took another bite later that morning. Lucas tried showing her around the station quarters. He pointed to objects, saying their names: bed, light, chair, window. Then he pointed to himself again, Lucas, and once more to her, Mira. She hesitated, her lips trembling. Then she said it, just a whisper, "Mira." Lucas froze. It was the first time he'd heard her voice, soft, gentle, like wind on glass. He smiled. "Yes, Mira." She lowered her eyes quickly, afraid she had done something wrong. Lucas gently touched her shoulder. "You can talk," he said, "any time." She nodded once, but didn't speak again for the rest of the day. That night, Lucas sat at his desk. Typing a report, he paused, staring at the words on the screen. He couldn't bring himself to type the truth. "They gave me a female subject from an alien species as a ceremonial gift." That line alone would bring trouble, but he knew hiding it was worse. Still, he hesitated. The system was too big, and too many looked away. Suddenly, he heard movement behind him. He turned. And Mira was standing there, holding something. It was a small metal object, her collar. She had taken it off. Lucas stood slowly. "Are you okay?" he asked. She held the collar out, her hands shaking. "Do I keep wearing this?" she asked in a small voice. Lucas looked at her, then at the collar. "No," he said firmly. "You don't." He took it from her and set it on the desk. "You're not property." Myra's eyes filled with something new, confusion mixed with hope. No one had ever said that to her before. She looked down at her wrists, at the faded scars from old restraints. "Not property," she repeated quietly. Lucas nodded. "You're free." The next day, Mira followed Lucas through the hallway. Other humans glanced at her, some with pity, others with curiosity. One officer whispered to another, "That's the alien pleasure pet they gave him." Lucas heard it, but didn't respond. Myra heard it too and lowered her head. He stopped. Walking, turned to her and gently lifted her chin. "Hold your head up, Mira," he said. "You don't have to be ashamed." She swallowed hard, then nodded slowly. She didn't understand everything yet, but his words gave her strength. They stopped by the medical wing. Lucas convinced the doctor to scan Mira for any hidden implants or trackers. The results were shocking. There were 3, hidden deep in her skin, 1 in her arm, 1 near her spine, and 1 behind her left ear. The doctor frowned. "Standard obedience implants," he said. "Slave-grade tech." Lucas's hands clenched into fists. "Can you remove them?" "It's risky," the doctor replied, "but yes." Mira lay silently on the table during the procedure. She didn't cry, didn't scream. But Lucas saw her eyes. She was terrified. He held her hand the entire time. After the last implant was removed, she looked at him. "Do I belong to myself now?" she asked. Lucas smiled and nodded. "Yes, Mira, now you do." That night, Mira spoke more. Not much, just small things. She asked about the stars outside the window. She asked what food Lucas liked. She even laughed, once soft and brief, but real. Lucas listened closely, answering her questions. He learned that Mira had never been to a school, never played, never had a family. She didn't even know what a birthday was. She had lived in a training facility since birth, raised to smile, obey, and never resist. Lucas felt something deep in his chest, anger, but also a strange warmth. Myra was learning to live, and he would help her, no matter what. But as they talked, a hidden camera blinked in the corner of the room. Someone was watching, and they didn't like what they were seeing. Mira stood at the window, watching the stars move slowly across the sky. She was no longer in a cage, no longer wearing a collar. But sometimes her hands still shook. Her heart raced when she heard sudden footsteps or loud voices. Lucas walked into the room, carrying 2 mugs, tea, he said softly. Offering one to her, Myra smiled, just a little, and took it with both hands. "Thank you," she whispered. They sat together in silence. Lucas looked at her carefully. She was changing her shoulders, stood straighter now. Her eyes didn't always look at the floor, but he knew the damage inside her was deep. "Mira," he asked, "do you want to learn how to read?" She looked surprised. "I can't. I can teach you," Lucas said, smiling. "We'll go slow." She nodded slowly. Like she wasn't sure if it was allowed, they began lessons every day. Myra struggled with the letters at first, but Lucas was patient, never angry, never loud. She started to enjoy it, especially when he praised her. One afternoon, she read a full sentence. Lucas clapped and laughed. "That's perfect." "Mira," she blushed, then covered her face. "No one ever said I did something good before," she whispered. "Well, now I will say it every day," he replied gently as the days passed. Myra started to explore more. She watched human shows, listened to music, and asked questions. She even asked about Earth, what trees felt like, what snow looked like. Lucas promised he'd take her someday. That made her smile again. But something dark was moving in the background. Lucas had filed a quiet report about Mira's implants. He wanted to expose the trade network that created beings like her. But the report had been flagged intercepted before it reached the right hands. Now, someone knew he was digging. One night, while Mira was sleeping, Lucas received an anonymous message. "Return the subject. You have 48 hours. She belongs to the syndicate." He stared at the screen, his jaw tightening. He deleted the message and activated extra security. The next morning, Lucas found Myra sitting at the table with something in her hands. It was a tiny device, a hidden tracker. She had found it under the bed. Her face was pale, her eyes wide. "Someone is watching," she whispered. Lucas took the tracker and crushed it under his boot. "No one will take you again," he said. But deep down, he knew they wouldn't stop. The syndicate was powerful and worked in the shadows. Later that day, Mira asked him something she had never asked before. "Why did you name me?" Lucas looked at her, surprised. "Because you deserve a name," he said, "not a number." She nodded slowly. "I didn't know names were allowed," she whispered, "in the place I came from. We were not taught to ask." She walked over to the mirror, looking at her reflection. "Mira," she said, "I like the way it sounds." She touched her own face, as if trying to believe she was real. That evening, Lucas gave her something special, a small bracelet with her name carved into it. She held it close, her fingers shaking. "No one ever gave me something before, not just for me." Lucas smiled. "Well, now you have something." But while Mira learned how to be herself, someone else was getting closer. A bounty hunter named Rex was hired by the syndicate to retrieve her. Cold, silent, and ruthless, Rex tracked the signal from the destroyed tracker. He knew where to go, and he didn't care who got hurt. Meanwhile, Lucas contacted a friend who worked with a small human rights group. He sent them files, proof of the implants, medical scans, and Myra's story. "We'll publish this," his friend promised, "but you need to keep her safe." "I will," Lucas said, "even if it costs me everything." That night, Myra knocked on his bedroom door. "Can I sleep here?" she asked softly. "I had a bad dream." Lucas nodded, pulled an extra blanket from the closet. She curled up on the couch, close, but not too close. Before falling asleep, she whispered, "I used to think I was nothing." Lucas replied, "You're not nothing, Mira. You're someone, and you're stronger than you know." Outside, the security camera blinked red, and far away, Vrex loaded his weapon and smiled coldly. He had found his target. Lucas locked the door and checked the window for the third time. Something in the air felt wrong. Mira stood nearby. Her arms crossed, eyes alert. She had changed, no longer the quiet, shaking girl from the cage. She was still scared inside, but now she was learning how to fight it. Lucas spoke carefully. "They're coming." Mira nodded. "The syndicate." "They won't stop," Lucas said. "Not until they take you back. Then we run," she replied. Her voice calm but cold. They had already packed a small bag food. Energy cells, a few credits. Lucas had one weapon, a plasma pistol. Mira didn't want to carry one, but she agreed to hold a stun stick, just in case. Before leaving, Lucas sent one last message to his contact. "We're going dark. Tell the others to keep pushing the story." Then he grabbed Myra's hand, and they slipped out the back door. The hallway was quiet. Too quiet. Even the usual humming lights seemed dimmer. They moved through the station tunnels, using old maintenance paths. Mira remembered some of them from when she was transported long ago. "Over there," she whispered, pointing to a door behind a metal crate. They slid it open and ducked into the shadows. As they reached the cargo zone, Lucas noticed movement. A tall figure with armor stepped into view. Vrex. The bounty hunter scanned the hallway, eyes glowing red. He moved with sharp, silent steps, like a predator. Lucas pulled Mira behind a stack of boxes and held his breath. They waited, not moving. Rex paused for a moment, then walked away. Lucas whispered, "That's him." Myra nodded, her hands clenched. "That's the one who used to visit the pens," she said. He picked the girls to be sold. They waited until he disappeared into another corridor. Then they ran, quickly and quietly, toward Dock 17. That was the plan: steal a small cargo shuttle and disappear. But when they reached the hangar, they froze. 3 more syndicate agents stood at the gate, scanning ID chips. They were looking for her. Mira looked at the shuttle, then at Lucas. "If I go in alone, I can distract them," she whispered. "No," Lucas said firmly. "We stay together, but if they catch you, they'll kill you," she replied. "I'm not leaving you behind," Lucas said. "Ever." Suddenly, one of the agents turned and spotted them. "Stop," he shouted, raising his weapon. Lucas pushed Mira behind a crate and fired first. The blast hit the agent's shoulder, sending him spinning. The others opened fire, and chaos exploded in the hangar. Mira ducked and crawled toward the shuttle. She reached the side door and unlocked it using Lucas's backup code. He fired again, taking out the second guard, but was hit in the leg. He shouted in pain, falling to one knee. "Mira, go," he yelled, but Mira didn't run. She ran toward him instead, grabbed his arm, and pulled him into the shuttle. She slammed the door shut as the last agent fired at them. The shot missed by inches. Inside, she helped Lucas into the pilot seat. "I don't know how to fly," she said. "I'll guide you," he groaned, bleeding badly. She followed his instructions, trembling hands gripping the controls. The shuttle lifted into the air. Shaking from damage, engage jump drive. Lucas whispered. She hit the button. The stars outside twisted into light, and they vanished into hyperspace. Silence filled the cockpit. Lucas leaned back, breathing hard. Mira knelt beside him, pressing cloth against his wound. "You're bleeding too much," she said. "We need help. There's a safe zone." Lucas replied weakly, "An old friend runs it." "We'll go there." She nodded, her eyes filled with fire. "You protected me," she whispered. "Now I protect you." They reached the safe zone hours later, hidden orbital outpost known only to a few. Lucas's friend, an older woman named Riva, met them at the dock. She looked at Mira, then at Lucas's wound, and nodded. "Come inside," she said. "We'll hide you both," while Riva treated Lucas. Mira sat nearby, her hands still bloody from the fight. She looked at them, slowly realizing something. She had fought back. She had chosen to save someone. Not because she was told to, but because she wanted to. Riva brought her food and water, then sat beside her. "You're not what they say you are," Riva said. "You're not a pet." Mira looked at her, surprised. "You're the first person besides Lucas to say that." "Then listen again." Riva said firmly, "You are not a thing." That night, Mira sat by Lucas's side as he slept. She held his hand gently for the first time in her life. She wasn't afraid of the dark. She had escaped the cage, and she would never go back. Mira stared at the small communicator in her hand. It glowed softly, showing a message from the human rights group. They needed proof, not just stories, not just words. They needed images, names, locations. Real evidence that would break the syndicate. Lucas was still recovering. His leg wrapped in thick bandages. He couldn't walk far yet, and he still winced every time he moved. But his voice was strong when he said, "We don't have to do this, Mira. We've done enough." But Mira shook her head. "No." She whispered, "I'm going back." Lucas looked at her with pain in his eyes. "That place nearly broke you," he said. "It did," she answered. "But I'm not the same anymore. I have a name now, and I'm not afraid to use it." She had a plan: return to the syndicate's underground auction as a gift again. Pretend to be silent and obedient, just like before. High day. Record her under her skin and gather everything. It was risky, but it was the only way. Lucas hated it. He argued for hours, tried to offer another way, but in the end, he knew she was right. She had survived once, and now she was stronger. And she wasn't going back alone, with help from Riva's contacts. They created a fake delivery profile. Myra was listed as returned property, slightly damaged but functional. Her collar was rebuilt, but it was just for show. The tracker inside it was fake, and Lucas, wearing syndicate guard armor, would go with her. The auction was hidden deep beneath an abandoned city on a desert moon. The entrance was marked only by a blinking blue light. Mira and Lucas passed through scanners, their false identities holding. Up inside, it was like stepping back into a nightmare. Dozens of girls sat in cages, some older, some just children. None of them spoke. None of them looked up. They had numbers on their collars and empty looks in their eyes. Mira walked past them, heartbreaking. She wanted to cry, but she didn't. Not yet. Lucas stayed close, playing the role of a bored guard. He whispered instructions through the earpiece hidden in her collar. "Left turn coming up. 2 guards ahead. You're doing great." In the main chamber, rich buyers gathered. Some were aliens, others were humans. All of them wore masks, both for style and to hide their identities. Mira stood on a platform beside the other products. She lowered her head like she's used to, but her hands were clenched behind her back. She was not what she seemed. A tall alien stepped forward. The auctioneer, he began listing details: age, appearance, obedience level. When he got to Mira, he paused. "This one was recently returned," he said, "but still desirable. Trained and quiet. Perfect." For private use, someone in the crowd raised a card. Another raised the bid higher. Mira's stomach twisted, but she stayed silent. Her recorder was capturing everything. Every word, every face. Then something unexpected happened. Rex stepped onto the stage, the bounty hunter who chased them. He looked right at her, his red eyes narrowing. "This one escaped once," he growled. "She's not safe." The auctioneer frowned. She was reprocessed, but Rex didn't look convinced. Lucas spoke calmly into her ear. "Stay still. Don't look up." But Mira knew Rex was suspicious. She had to move fast. She glanced to her left, an emergency door for staff only. She stepped back, pretending to trip. Then she moved, fast and sharp. She kicked the door open and ran. Alarms blared, buyers screamed, and guards chased her. Lucas dropped his act and pulled out his pistol. He shot 2 guards before grabbing a cage key. He ran to the holding area and opened 3 cages. "Go! Get out!" He shouted to the girls. They hesitated, confused. Then Mira appeared beside them. "It's real," she cried. "We're getting out." The lights flickered as more doors opened. Panic spread. Lucas and Mira led the captives through the back tunnels. Rayax followed, roaring, firing at them through the smoke. Myra turned, picked up a guard stun stick, and threw it. It hit Rayax in the chest, and he collapsed for a moment. They burst through a broken exit hatch and into the desert. A small, ship-weighted Riva was inside, shouting for them to hurry, one by one. The girls climbed aboard. Lucas stumbled, bleeding again. Mira helped him into the seat and slammed the door. "Go!" She shouted, the engines roared, and they lifted off. Just as Rex crawled out into the sand, he aimed his weapon, but they were already gone. Inside the ship, Mira looked at the others. Some were crying, some in shock, but all were free. Lucas gave her a weak smile. "You did it," he said. Myra took his hand. "No," she whispered. "We did." The ship floated silently above a quiet planet. Its engines cooled, its lights dimmed, inside. Mira sat beside Lucas, holding a cloth to his side. His wound had reopened during the escape. And he was losing blood. "You're going to be okay," she whispered, even though her hands were shaking. Lucas looked at her and gave a weak smile. "You're braver than most soldiers I've ever known." Mira didn't answer, but her eyes filled with tears. Not the tears of a slave, not of fear, but of care. Riva flew the ship down to a secure shelter in the mountains. There, her people had food, medicine, and safety. Lucas was taken to the medical wing. Myra refused to leave his side, sitting with him through every hour. When he woke again, days later, the first thing he saw was Mira asleep in a chair next to him. Her head rested on her arms, her hair falling across her face. She looked peaceful. Lucas reached out and gently touched her hand. She woke quickly, eyes wide. "You're awake," she said. Relief pouring through her voice. "You stayed the whole time?" He asked. She nodded. "I didn't want to leave you." Lucas smiled. "Thank you." A nurse entered and checked his vitals. She didn't let anyone else clean the wound. The nurse said with a grin, "She guarded you like a lion." Myra blushed, but didn't say anything. Later that day, they received news. The recordings from the auction had gone public. The human rights group had released the files to every major system channel. Faces of buyers, syndicate leaders, the locations all exposed, across the stars. People were shocked and angry. Even worlds that had stayed silent before now demanded justice. Some leaders tried to deny it, but they couldn't erase the images of young alien girls in cages, or the cold voices of masked buyers, bidding like it was a game. And at the center of it all was Mira, the girl who once had no name, no voice, no freedom. Now she stood as the symbol of resistance, and still she stayed beside Lucas, refusing to leave him alone. "You're free now, Mira," Lucas told her one evening. "You don't have to stay with me." Mira looked at him, her eyes deep with something stronger than gratitude. "I know," she said, "but I choose to." She stood up, walked to the window, and looked at the stars. "When they gave me to you, I thought I was just a thing." She whispered, "Everyone before you used me, ignored me, or sold me. But you gave me a name. You gave me something I never had before." Lucas looked at her gently. "What's that?" She turned around, her eyes glowing. "Respect," she said, "and kindness." He wanted to say something more, something deeper, but his chest felt too tight. Myra stepped forward, took his hand, and sat beside him. They didn't need to speak. The silence between them said enough. In the days that followed, reporters tried to find her. They wanted interviews, pictures, stories, but Myra avoided them all. She didn't want to be famous. She wanted to help, so she met with leaders, human and alien. She told them the truth, not just about the cages, but about the feeling of being. Treated like a thing, like you're less than alive. One councilwoman from a distant world wept openly. "We didn't know," she said. Myra replied, "Then now you do. And now you must stop it." Lucas slowly healed, walking again with a cane. He watched Myra from a distance, sometimes no longer afraid. No longer small, she had become strong, proud, full of purpose. One evening, as they walked together in the garden of the safe house, Myra stopped. "I heard someone say you loved me," she said quietly. Lucas paused, caught off guard. "I didn't know how you'd feel if you heard that," he said honestly. Myra smiled softly. "I didn't know what love was," she replied. "I thought it was something they forced on us, but now I think it's different." She took his hand, her voice steady. "Love is choosing to stay. Even when you're free to go. Love is watching someone bleed for you and wanting to stop their pain. It's wanting someone to see you. Really see you not as a thing, but as a person." Lucas nodded slowly. "Then yes," he said, "that's what it is. And yes, Myra, I love you." Tears slipped down her cheeks, but she was smiling. She reached up and touched his face. Gently, "I love you too, Lucas," for the first time. No chains, no orders, no cage. Only choice, and they chose each other. The spaceport was quiet that morning. Stars blinked in the sky above like tiny fires. Myra stood on the open deck, staring at the horizon of a new world. It wasn't Earth. And it wasn't her home world. It was something else. A beginning, behind her. Lucas stepped out slowly, leaning on his cane. His leg had healed enough to walk, but he still moved carefully. He watched Myra for a moment. His eyes filled with pride. She wasn't the same girl from the cage. She wasn't the scared, silent creature they once gave him as a reward. She was someone powerful now, someone whole. "You ready?" he asked gently. Myra turned to him and smiled. "Yes," she said, "more ready than I've ever been." Today was the day she would speak to the Galactic Assembly, not just as a survivor, but as a voice for the voiceless. Many had gathered humans, aliens, leaders from across the stars. They all came to hear the one who had escaped the darkness and helped destroy the Syndicate's mask. Riva arrived with a message. "They want to introduce you as Subject X-12, also known as Myra." Myra frowned, then shook her head. "No," she said, "not that." Lucas looked at her, curious. Myra took a deep breath. "I want to use a real name," she said. "One I choose for myself." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small pendant. It was shaped like a sun with 3 points. "A symbol from my people," she said. "It means rebirth." She looked into Lucas's eyes, calm and steady. "I am Myra Solari now," she said. "It means Freedom Star." Lucas smiled warmly. "It suits you," he said. She squeezed his hand gently. "Thank you," she whispered, "for giving me the chance to become her." Inside the assembly hall, lights dimmed as Myra stepped onto the stage. She wore a simple outfit, not fancy, not decorated, just comfortable. Honest, strong, the crowd fell silent. Every eye on her, she looked at them without fear. Then she began to speak. "I was born in a cage," she said, "raised without a name, trained to serve. Never allowed to dream. They called us animals, toys, prizes. But we were people, we were children." Her voice was steady. "Not angry, but clear. I was given as a gift," she said, "to a human soldier who could have treated me like all the others. But he didn't. He gave me a name, and for the first time, I saw myself as a person." Some in the audience lowered their heads. Others wept quietly. One alien diplomat stood and nodded slowly. "You are not just one story," he said aloud. "You are the voice of many." Mira continued, "There are still others in chains, others who don't. No, they're allowed to be free. I will fight for them. I will not stop until no one else lives as a thing." When she finished, the room stood in silence. Then, applause, loud and long. Not out of politeness, but out of respect, real respect, that day. The Galactic Council passed the Sentient Rights Resolution. The Syndicate lost all trade. Protections and many of its leaders were arrested. Raids began across hidden facilities, and each time someone was freed. They whispered the same name, Mira Solari. Mira returned to the safe world where it all began. There, she and Lucas opened a center for survivors called the Solari Foundation. It wasn't fancy, just clean and kind, a place where the lost could rest, where no one had to prove their worth to be treated with care. Lucas walked with a limp now, but he didn't mind. Each scar was a story, and he had no regrets. He taught young survivors how to use tools, how to write, how to protect themselves. Mira helped them speak. She taught them how to feel safe in their own skin again, and how to believe they were worth loving. One evening, they sat beneath a tree in the garden. The sky above was filled with stars. Mira leaned her head on Lucas's shoulder. "Do you ever wonder how it all started?" she asked. He chuckled. "Yes, I went to get a medal." "And they gave me you?" Myra smiled. "And I thought they gave me another cage. But they gave me a door instead." Lucas looked at her with warmth in his eyes. "You walked through that door on your own," he said, "and I'm proud of you." Mira looked up at the stars and whispered, "I used to be called a thing, a pleasure animal, a reward. But now I have a name, and someone who loves me. I'm not a prize," she said, her voice strong. "I'm a person, and I choose my own future, and in the quiet night, surrounded by hope and healing." Mira Solari smiled, free, loved, and no longer alone.